Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update, and I'm proud to announce that this website is now fully operational and you can go and visit it. So I'm going to have a link in the description, but this is no longer just a folder of files sitting on my desktop. This is now something you can actually go visit for yourself, use these instruments to view all the various things happening, and there's also all sorts of other stuff. So I'm going to round back here, circle back here after I do my little update to go into some of the features and some of the things that I plan on adding next. So with that, we'll just take a look at the space weather feeds where, again, things are looking pretty quiet for the time being. Looks like we've had a couple of small anomalies here in the data with these dips that go down, and I believe that relates to some of the satellite charging hazards, and sometimes you get some sort of anomaly happening. So I think that's what that's from. And looking at this chart here, it does look a little bit strange. We have the density kind of going up and down. We got the phi angle going up and down, and then the BZ has more or less kind of favored the southern side. So even though we don't have any solar storm happening, we do have a little bit above average on the KP index, given the fact that there's nothing directly happening right now. So looking at the feeds here, we can see these bright active regions more and more coming into view. And so even though we had a small moment where there was 0 sunspots on the sun before these came into play, you can still see, especially on one of these feeds, with the coronal holes, with these kind of darker spots and the plasma filaments, that even when we had no sunspots happening, we are still in solar maximum. So there's, even if there's no sunspots, there's still quite a lot happening otherwise with filament eruptions and coronal holes. So it looks like we do have a small one that was sort of facing us a little bit, but not much. And then we have a little bit of a coronal hole down here. On the southern side, looks like it's kind of growing a little bit, but again, not too much. Mostly we are going to be looking at these bright active regions coming at us. So if we take a look down here, so there was a pretty big issue that happened with the far side sunspot images. It was working fine when I was hosting it locally, but then when I switched to getting it hosted and it is, on a secure HTTPS link, and so the Stanford website that has these Farsight images, well, this website must have been made like 15 or 20 years ago, because they're still using the regular HTTP web link, and so basically the web server was like, nah, something ain't secure about this, so we're not going to show that. So sadly, those are broken, and I don't think I can fix them without setting up some sort of proxy or backend server, which again, this is being hosted without any of those things, and it's on GitHub. So it should be not only secure, but pretty transparent on what all this is doing. So, but you can still click on this link down here and go here, and so we can see the far side images on here at least, where it looks like this region on the backside has somewhat decayed, so that's pretty good. And then we are just now seeing or getting a peek on this next active region coming into view here. So we can see this northern sunspot group has pretty much stayed the same, hasn't really done much. And then it looks like the southern sunspot group has slightly developed a little bit, but it has also mostly stayed the same. And then now we're going to be watching out for a third pretty large sunspot group that'll eventually be directly facing Earth about a week from now, maybe a little less. So that's going to be mostly what's on the schedule for space weather. And looking at the charging hazards now, it is all in the green, which is cool to see. Even when we didn't have anything going on, there was still a lot of yellow and even some red on here, which, like I said, may have had to do with a couple of those anomalies seen on the charts above. So I think that's about all we got going on there. We did have a Looks like a C-class flare that just happened, but that has also already started to dip back down. So nothing to worry about there. And so bringing things into the earthquake side, I'm going to bring up this network again because we still have absolutely nothing showing up on the tremor feed. And looking at their earthquake map, so this is supposed to scale from yellow being oldest to red being newest, and there's nothing that's red on here. So even though we're looking at the last 2 weeks, it looks like everything completely stopped at least several days ago now, because there's nothing more than a kind of slight orange color on here. So I'm not sure what that's about. It honestly is really strange, and I'm starting to think that this network has just completely ceased all data publication whatsoever. Even though it says, see, okay, I guess that's kind of confusing. It says there's some activity for the 27th, and going back, but maybe the colors just aren't working correctly. I'm not entirely sure. Something just feels a little bit suspicious going on with reporting earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest. So I guess I'll just say that. And looking at the Canada feed, same deal. Looks pretty empty here. We have, again, a lot of stuff in Alaska, but that's pretty normal. And then we do have some tremor activity on the uptick here. So this is really just looking at pretty much the last 24 hours. And we still have a lot of various tremor swarms happening, especially down here in Texas. And then there's a couple of other swarms here. So this one is one to definitely keep an eye out for, because this is the general region that we're going to be looking for some significant activity, pretty much a 7 or above. And well, according to Dutch Census forecasting logic, we have about 3 more days left in this major watch period, and we see this little stack here, but it's 3 5s and 3 4s, and the last one happened just within the last couple hours. So definitely got to keep an eye on that. Looking down here at that swarm that was going on in Australia, looks like that has kind of mysteriously subsided. So we had a lot of events coming in, and then all of a sudden there's just one event there in the last 24 hours or so. So I'm not sure if that means something's building up or if it just finally decided to shut up or something. But we do have a couple more new deep events across the plate here. And once, let me just get these off the feed really quick, because the Australia and New Zealand feed definitely tend to mess with things here. So let's take things back down to where they were. So it's like in the last 24 hours, pretty minimal activity here. Like I said, a few more deep events here and there, and also another one up here, but nothing compared to the uptick that followed it before. So something could be, again, kind of building up for something to happen, and the solar flares will definitely have the final say on whether or not we get major earthquake activity happening, especially in this whole region. So just a heads up there on that for what we'll be looking at in the near term future. And looking at Europe here, it has still had some decent activity going on here and there. And then we have another tremor swarm, not tremor swarm, this is above 3.0 activity. So it is pretty much an actual earthquake swarm now going on over here by the Caspian Sea. So gonna see what happens there. And then we have a new 5 kind of going in here on the eastern side of India, bordered with whatever this little region is called. Oh, it's still India, even though there's like a border here. Not exactly sure specifically what that area is, but anyways, that is about what we got going on there. There was some more movement down here in the Drake Passage, which can often mean something specific is happening, especially at the antipode. So back sometime last year, when we had major activity going on off of Kamchatka, involving multiple 7s, including an 8. We also saw a ton of activity going on down here in the Drake Passage. So those two locations are very much related. And then when we see activity going further towards the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, that's usually residual activity coming from South America, at least from what I've observed. So let's see, is there anything else? We can look at the global incident map, and there was an earthquake over here in the Indian Ocean that is reported by the USGS, but it is not on their traditional feeds, so it doesn't actually show up, or sorry, it would be over here. Maybe it does. Maybe I'm lying. So yeah, 4.9, 4.9, okay, never mind. So that does show up on there. And there's also a lot of activity that seems to happen in this whole stretch of the Pacific that sometimes gets reported, sometimes doesn't. So sometimes we can see that on here as well. But it doesn't look like there's anything. So just seeing how the pressure transfers from the west over to the east. But it looks fairly quiet given the amount of deep activity that's been going on. So we're just going to have to keep on watch, and if anything else weird happens, I'll definitely be looking at that. So looking in the volcanic activity section here, there's not a whole lot that has changed. There's still quite a long list of active volcanoes here. There is a pretty interesting article as well as a short video clip I can show involving some blue lava. So that is actually pretty cool. Seems to be a specific region around Japan and Indonesia where certain volcanoes can sometimes have blue or purple lava flows happening, and you can only really see it at nighttime, and it has to do with sulfur burning. So anyways, we still have a lot of the same stuff on here: Indonesia, Philippines, Costa Rica, the Vanuatu region, so on and so forth. Actually more than a couple here in Guatemala, and some of the same ongoing ash plumes going on. So this hasn't really taken a back seat at all, and looks like there's some more developments happening at that volcano in France. So taking things over to X here, could only really find a couple of good clips here. This is an eruption from the 21st, and it looked pretty violent. I mean, you just see how quickly those vapors and those ash emissions are coming out. So definitely a very high pressurized system underneath the volcano. Looks pretty gnarly. And this account actually related it to the ongoing geomagnetic storms bombarding the core mantle. So again, when we're looking at and talking about geomagnetism, look, geomagnetism is king right now. It is the #1 research aspect to all of geophysics right now. Any geophysicist worth their salt is basically looking into geomagnetism on all fronts and the relation between the sun and the earth when it comes to everything that it influences. So that is going to be something just reiterated time and time again as we go on here, where everything happening geomagnetically affects everything else, including biology, psychology, and everything going on, basically. So with that, there is this other one here. Here's the blue purple lava here coming from one of Indonesia's volcanoes. So it looks pretty cool, and I was able to find an article that I'm going to link down below that kind of explains that as well. So I just thought that was pretty cool to see. And yeah, that'll about do it for today's update. So now I'm just going to go over me releasing this website, what you can expect and what you can explore for right now. So of course we got the space weather feeds, we've got the earthquake monitoring, and I'm going to be hopefully adding some more things on here soon, making it a pretty complete hazard map involving various things. A couple of formatting issues going on here. So don't mind that. I'm trying to get this website to work the best that it can on mobile, even though I do recommend viewing this website on a desktop. So that being said, we got the volcano monitoring here, which, oh, it looks like we've got some more formatting issues here. This was not supposed to be like that. So yeah, I'm starting to get into some of the more depths of website coding, and between desktop version and mobile version, it's already becoming a little bit of a nightmare, but I'm definitely just taking my time learning how it all works and hoping that whatever responses I get from AI are actually helping me instead of hindering me. So we've had a little bit of both, but also the other two sections I recommend viewing is going to be the resources section. So under the multimedia and resource links tab, there's going to be a growing list of different links here. And I've covered these a couple times now, but especially down here at the Preppers Resource Corner and the ECDO Research and Survival Advanced Survival Networking, there's some really, really good links to prepping and some really good links for more advanced theories and whatnot. And we have at least, I think, 4 different links involving the Suspicious Observers community here. So we got Solar Killshot, suspiciousobservers.org, and up here we've got, of course, spaceweathernews.com, and I think there was one more, not sure where it was. Oh yeah, of course, and we have the Master the Disaster course here. So again, I can add more things there, but it's pretty good to check out. And of course, we have the peer-reviewed paper section, and at this point there's at least like 24 more papers that I can add on here, but I've just been trying to work on all the more critical systems for now, just to get this thing up and running. So there's going to be a lot more papers here to add, as well as other potential articles such as this one here with the blue lava. So I want to try to add pretty much as many different resources and studies and all sorts of stuff as I can. And then I do have a specific contact email for this website. So if you have any questions, concerns, or especially anything copyright related, or just general feedback, definitely be sure to either just comment down below in the video or contact that email. But I would say probably making a comment is probably going to be more effective, just because I've never been good at checking email reliably. So what to look forward to in the near future other than adding more papers and stuff? Well, I want to get this ancient history section developed here, and I do want to write some of my own articles as well and provide some in-depth data on the past climate and environmental changes, as well as, especially, again, looping back to geomagnetism, looking at the different excursion events that have happened in the past and how that relates to the one that we're currently going through now. So I think for now that'll pretty much about wrap it up. Don't want to make this video too long, so hope y'all enjoyed. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next.